Welcome back to Glamour Unfiltered, hosted by me, Josh Smith. And today we're joined by the queen of Netflix / the new queen of the Arthur Tales. It's Katherine Langford!
Hey!
Hey! Babe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Given the circumstances, how are you?
Good. You know, we're living, we're thriving. And the exciting thing is that the new show is on the horizon. Because it's such a massive production. What was the most testing aspect of this for you?
I had to learn sword fighting, horse riding, and I had to come up with a new English dialect. So kind of learning all that and then, learning this vast skill set, and then on top of that, being able to maintain it for the shoot was definitely a challenge, but it was also something really nice, and it kind of made me learn a lot and sort of how to maintain that, and also just how to try and keep giving the same top level of performance every day.
Were there like times when you really pushed yourself and you're like, what, WTF, I can't believe I've actually just done that?
You know, you're in the cold for such a long time, like hypothermia. I went into hypothermia a couple of times. On camera, if you're cold, your lips will shake. And so really having to learn like how to breathe, like really like controlled breathing, just so you could get a couple of seconds where your lips weren't shaking.
I was thinking too, when I was watching this, and how Nimue is classed as a witch, and how like labeling to women is still so reductive even today. I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, we've come so far, obviously, because this is like the Middle Ages, but then in other ways, that sense of like the need to label what a woman is and who she is still very prevalent in our society. How have you navigated that in your own life? Have you ever felt like people have tried to label you, and you've tried to like maybe sometimes play up to it and then rebel against it? How has that been for you?
I was one of those kids where I never fit into a box. Like I was this athlete, like I loved athletics and I could do sport, but then I was like also kind of like girly, and I liked makeup, but I didn't want to be a part of that popular girl group. And I was also a nerd, and I also liked music. So there were all these different boxes that I checked, but also at the same time, like I just didn't fit into one of them perfectly. Feeling free and doing what makes you feel free is so important, and I think that's what makes people special, you know?
Do you ever feel that people still try to put you into a box?
I definitely remember earlier on in my career that being talked about. I think I was about like 18 or something, and I did a casting workshop, and the casting director came in. He was from like a main studio, and he basically said these words of like character actress, leading actress, like they were two separate things. Like if you were a leading actress, you were one thing. If you're a character actress, you're another thing. I remember just being so kind of confused by that.
When you think back to you growing up in Perth, what kind of things were you going through at that time that you possibly like struggled with?
I mean, we all have ups and downs, and I probably can't like list like one or two specific, because I think it ranged, you know, like school, I didn't know where I fit in. I didn't know which box I was supposed to be in. And I actually remember, I have to share this. I remember we had like this magazine. We had a couple of like these girls magazines, and they would have pictures of celebrities with a quote. I had this picture of Scarlett Johansson, who was saying, you know, in essence, something along the lines of like, just be yourself. And I remember I was 12, and I looked at this and I just went, but who am I? Like, tell me who I'm supposed to be. Should I like dress like this and then I'm that person? Should I like dress like this and then be this person? So I think a lot of it was, and still, you know, trying to figure out who you are, less now about where I fit, because like to hell with that, I'll make my own box. But like, you know, like figuring out who you are. Yes, thesis.
Yes. What has it been like for you to come to terms with your own skin, your own body, your own beauty?
You know, I get the feeling that when you're younger, beauty or being beautiful is equated to looking like someone else. You know, it's a lot of what other people have to say. And over the past couple of years, I feel like I've learned that the more you can own who you are and the more confident you are in yourself, the more you're able to recognize the beauty that you have within, but also appreciate it within other people. And that to me is the true essence of being beautiful.
Can you remember some turning points in that, or some changes in that?
There's this moment that I had probably a couple of years ago, and I think I was like 21, 22, like around that sort of age, where I was already considered an adult, but there was like this second stage of evolution where I felt like I was coming into my womanhood, for better word.
Yeah.
And, you know, at that point, you really own a lot more about your body, but I think there's a lot more in your confidence and who you are as a person. And maybe I had to do that a little more quickly because, like, when I travel, I don't have my mom. I don't really have anyone around me. So you have to really take that ownership over yourself and kind of like mother yourself, I guess. But not in that way, but you have to give yourself the pep talk. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, like, okay, we're good to go today. We can do this. Or if you're tired, you're the one telling yourself, like, come on, girl, we can do this. You can have that vacation after we're done.
Yeah. Like, because I guess, like, because if you had, when you were younger and you were swimming and you had this, like, great faith in your body as well, do you think that maybe, this is just a question, but, like, I was just thinking, do you think that having that, such a strong body image from early on has set you up to be able to cope with this crazy entertainment industry where body image is still a topic that we even have to still talk about?
To be honest, I don't think so, no. You know, because in a way, I think it almost made me think about it on more levels. You know, like on one hand, I feel really grateful to have grown up doing sport and growing up with a value in my body's capabilities and not just focusing on my body's appearance. But also at the same time, you know, growing up as a girl in sport, you're also, you know, you face a bunch of other critiques and criticisms of, like, you can't fit into this, or, you know, your body doesn't look this way, or you look too strong. Not that there is any such thing, you know. So you kind of, I think it may be just the same level as everyone else, but obviously from different points of view. That being said, I am really grateful to have maintained that respect for, you know, my body's capabilities. And I think that's been important with me coming into this industry in a way, because I've heard from so many girls, and I was so surprised to hear from so many girls, and also now I think about it, like, just boys and other people saying, you know, just enjoying seeing someone who looks like them. And I realize how harsh social media can be when everything is so perfect and put together and magazine ready. I want young girls to see that not only can they be strong, and not only can they fight, but they can do it in a way that honors them and honors their body and also honors their gender.
Because this is all about her discovering her power and leaning into her power, learning how to harness it, which is something we all have to do as humans as we go through our lives. For you, what have been some turning points in discovering and realizing your own power?
Wow. I feel like that's a lifelong journey, but definitely I mean, for me, one of the biggest lessons I think I've ever had is that moment when I got into drama school after 3 years of auditioning, and I got these 2 projects to go and test for. So I turned down drama school and went to test for these 2 projects in the US and the UK, and basically didn't get either of them. So I came back not being able to go to school, without a job, and had to call all my, like, bar jobs and stuff like that back. And it was that moment where I was just at rock bottom. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do, if I was meant to do this, if it was even possible. And I kept auditioning, and it was a couple of weeks after that my first project, which turned out to be 13 Reasons Why, came through. So that for me was a huge kind of turning point, I think. And it's crazy, and I'm very, like, grateful and thankful that it all worked out and young Katherine kept doing her thing.
If I was young Katherine who hit that rock bottom and I was on the Zoom call to you right now, what would you want to say to her?
It's such a tricky question. I mean, I think all I needed to do was just, like, believe in myself. And I think anyone at any age you go through ups and downs, and you go through doubts and, you know, not knowing what you're supposed to do, and you come to a lot of crossroads throughout life. And I guess the best thing you can do is just keep going and listen to your gut. And if something feels right, just keep going for it, and something will happen.
Obviously, you're about to become a L'Oreal global ambassador, which is like so nuts in itself. And you're becoming this woman of worth. That's what they call it. What does being a woman of worth mean to you?
Your self-worth is predominantly up to you, and how you value yourself and how you see yourself. But, you know, funny, we were talking about friends and whatnot. I feel like your worth is also, whether you like it or not, it can be determined by other people as well, and influenced by other people, for better or worse. You know, being in this industry that I'm in, you are, in a sense, your own commodity. And so your sense of value and worth is valued by different people in so many different ways. And sometimes I think that can make you question it, especially if you're younger, you know, and you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do.
When have you felt the most worth it, would you say?
That's such a good question. I feel like you're always worth it. And not that you're always feeling 100%, you know, like no one ever feels 100%, 110%. But you're always worth it. And I think everyone always deserves to feel that.
I was thinking about, you know, when you got nominated for your Golden Globe, and that was during the Time's Up movement, and there's definitely this amazing, incredible sisterhood that's in your industry now. How have you leaned in to sisterhood in your, not necessarily with your own sister, but sisters in general, that idea of sisterhood? How have you leaned into that in your own life during different times?
Well, I feel really lucky, I think, throughout the course of my life so far, to have a strong female presence, whether it is family or friends or in the form of a teacher, a mentor, or coaches. That moment at the Golden Globes, which for me was really special. You know, it's my first ever Golden Globes nomination, first nomination. Like it was so exciting, and then to connect that to the Time's Up movement, and sort of, you know, it kind of took place in the form of getting this call from a woman that I really admired. It was Reese Witherspoon who reached out to me initially, and I was on the phone with her, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this person like wants to welcome me in. And then we had this meeting before the Golden Globes, the day before, to kind of discuss all the sort of intricacies of what we were going to do. And I just walked into this room of like 25 of the most experienced and like inspiring, incredible actresses. And it was something where I felt very like starstruck, but at the same time, I also felt very welcomed and open. And that was really overwhelming. Like I got a bit teary when I was talking to some of them, because it, you know, especially growing up like in this industry, you hear these things that are like, you know, women are this way or women are that way. And it just felt so far from the truth. You know, I think that women are so powerful, and everyone as a human being has power within them. But I think through history, women in particular, as a group, have sort of faced these obstacles that are very specific to our gender. You know, we're such an indomitable force together. And when we truly support each other and stand together, it only serves to lift all of us up.
Has there been times where maybe, for instance, people haven't necessarily given you that respect and you've stood up for it and made sure you've had your voice heard?
You're so eager to please, in the sense that you want to do your job to the best ability that you can. And all these like stories that you hear about being difficult or whatever, you're just always very, at least I am very, you know, conscious of, I don't want to be difficult, but also I think growing up and having experience and having other women to talk to and get reference from, you also need to stand up for yourself if something isn't right, which often it's not. Often everything is fine. But I do feel like maybe also sometimes it's difficult like as a young person or a younger person, and maybe also as a woman, there's still a part of me that recognizes that even if I do say something, regardless of how eloquent or logical it will be, that you always feel like there may still be that I don't know, there is always, I guess, someone like looking at that or whatever. But for the most part, you know, I mean, just speaking to my last project, which was Cursed, you know, that was a really long shoot. Like I said, like one day we were shooting in a forest and it was completely waterlogged, and like 10 people went home, and then we had an inadvertent snow day in the middle of summer in Wales, like all these really random things that happen. I actually had like members of the crew who, you know, if they needed something or whatever, they would come to me and they'd be like, hey, like, hey, like, do you need this? Or they would just, there was this open dialogue where like I felt respected as an individual, not as like, I don't know, not being sort of talked down to or sort of like sweet talked, like, you know, when people call you like sweetie or honey or any of those kind of things. And I think that respect to a degree was also earned because I had to do a couple of stunts, and I think some of the stunt guys were really impressed and some of the camera rigs were really impressed, because I would like, I'm a complete masochist. Like I would stay in that water as cold as it was until we got shot. I'd be like jumping off of things, and the guys were like, all right, like you know, there was that respect that was earned from doing my job, and that's what I appreciated. Everyone's voice is equal, and everyone has their own experience to talk from. So in that sense, it's like everyone's opinion is valid and important to be listened to.
Do you think the younger you, who didn't feel like she fitted into a box, and didn't really feel like she fitted in, like you were saying earlier, do you think that she would be so proud of you sitting here today?
I don't know. Young Katherine was pretty tough. She'd probably be like, you're doing all right. No, I you know, this, like I said, like I grew up in Perth, which is a small city in Australia, and I loved it, and it's one of the most magical places on earth for me. But doing this, like, it didn't feel like tangible, let alone a possibility, for so many years. So it's so incredible. Even the fact that I'm sitting here and able to talk to you about any of this is, I'm just so grateful, and I'm always going to be grateful for that, because I truly like love all of this.
Thanks for taking the time out to speak to me.
Thank you so much. You too. And thank you for the time. This has been really nice and uplifting. So thank you.